Hey church, Pastor Shane here, and this is our Wednesday devotional for Holy Week. I don't know if you remember a couple years ago, but the New England Patriots were in the Super Bowl versus the Atlanta Falcons. Now I realize that me mentioning the Patriots all the time hasn't made me a bunch of friends here, but bear with me for a second. So they're playing the Falcons, and for the first half of the game, the Falcons are just trouncing the Patriots. The Patriots are losing badly. By about halfway through the third quarter, it is 28 Atlanta Falcons, 3 for the Patriots, and it seems hopeless. And I was miserable. I remember Cheryl heading up, going to bed, and me saying to her, listen, if Atlanta scores one more, even I'm giving up, and I'm coming to bed. Well, I'm glad I didn't give up, because the Patriots scored on consecutive drive after consecutive drive, coming back to beat Atlanta in overtime. I remember when they won the game, I literally jumped off the couch and ran circles around our house silently, because the kids were sleeping. I didn't want to wake them up. It was the most exciting victory I'd ever experienced watching a football game on TV. The victory was awesome, but the path to get there was not so awesome in the moment. And there's a lot of times when life is like that. And that's a little bit of what Jesus and the disciples are going to experience throughout Holy Week as we look forward to Good Friday and then eventually when the victory happens on Sunday. Let me read from John chapter 13. I hope you'll spend a little time in some of these passages as well in this week. Spend a little extra time in prayer as we prepare ourselves to worship the Lord for who He is and what He's done for us this weekend. And it's a little windy. It was not windy when I first came out here, so what are you going to do? All right, verse 21 of chapter 13 of John says this, "And after these things," Jesus is speaking with the disciples, "Jesus was troubled in his spirit and testified, 'Truly, truly, I say to you, one of you will betray me.' And the disciples looked at one another, uncertain of whom he spoke. And one of the disciples, the one whom Jesus loved, was reclining at the table at Jesus' side. And so Simon Peter motioned to him to ask Jesus of whom he was speaking. So that disciple, leaning back against Jesus, said to him, 'Lord, who is it?' Jesus answered, 'It is he to whom I will give this morsel of bread when I have dipped it.' And so when he had dipped the morsel, he gave it to Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot. And then after he had taken the morsel, Satan entered into him. And Jesus said to him, 'What you are going to do, do it quickly.' Now, no one at the table knew why he had said this to him. Some thought that, because Jesus had the money bag, Jesus was telling him, but what we need for the feast, or that he should go and give something to the poor. So after receiving the morsel of bread, he immediately went out, and it was night." I want to read this next verse, even though it is kind of part of the next section, or maybe the next passage in your translation of the Bible, but it's important. It says, "And when he had gone out, Jesus said, 'Now is the Son of Man glorified, and God is glorified in him.'" And I gotta say, at first glance, what a weird transition. Jesus just revealed who the betrayer is going to be. Judas, who has walked with Jesus throughout most of his ministry on earth. And that is the point where Jesus turns the conversation and says, hey, now is this time where God is going to be glorified and his Son is going to be glorified in him, that there is great glory coming. And it's strange for Jesus to say that, because Judas, betraying Jesus, goes to the officials, tells them where Jesus is, and that is how Jesus is found. He's arrested, he's wrongfully tried even though he's innocent, and he is tortured and killed on the cross. How is this the moment, Jesus, that you are saying now is the time when God is going to be glorified? Because Jesus knows the victory is coming. Even though the road is difficult, even though there is a mess ahead, even though in the rest of this passage he is preparing the disciples to go through difficult times, to start the church in a time of great duress for the people of God. And he's preparing them for that future in this passage. And he knows the road to that victory is going to be difficult. That road to the cross is going to be hard for Jesus. The road for the disciples as Jesus dies on the cross, so they have to wait for him to be resurrected, is a difficult road. The starting of the church is a difficult road, though one that is empowered by God. But the victory is coming. That God is going to work out these things that may look bad and feel horrible in the moment and do something with them for the future. And so it's a reminder of us as we reflect on the week leading up to Jesus' death in our place and his resurrection from the dead that we will share if we have put our trust in him. To understand that sometimes that road to experiencing the victory that God has already planned ahead of time is filled with difficulty. But the victory is coming. I'd love to say more, but I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We're going to be talking more about this on Sunday. For now, have a great week of worship.